Hello, welcome to my final project video. This is a cloned version of the repository and it works fine, so it should work for anyone else, assuming you have Erplang installed in the correct place. I'll just open this up. And yeah, this game is called Preytor, at least that's the working title. So here we are at the start of the game, and the first thing you're going to notice is this menu. So these first five here, these are the gladiators, randomly generated gladiators. This is your team. It's these guys here. I don't think you can see my mouse, but the green boxes is your team. They have an AI. Everyone starts with indecisive skills, and you also start with 5 upgrade points. So you can just use these to upgrade whatever stats you want. And you should do this with all of them at the start. Personally, I like to go with an attack defense spread. Wow, a lot of 1 defenses. A lot of 1 defenses. That said, the points do stack up, so if you forget, it's not a big deal. You also notice the shop here. Shop's not currently enabled. That's because you need to win a fight first to get access to that, and then you got the fighter GUI. So I'll tell you the round, and the rest of this that'll matter more later. For now, all you need to do is press Start Combat, and press Spacebar, and it'll begin. So the cubes here take turns, taking their turn. You can see we have information about what's going on here. And the characters all have little dialogue blurbs based on their randomly generated personality. So if I just take this slow, we can see it play out. There are 2 types of skills: offensive and supportive. There'll be a bit before we see the offenses because they need to be next to an enemy. Supportive, you can see them using there. Inspire increases attack. Resolve increases defense. Those are the defaults that they all start with. And if you don't want it to take this slow, which you probably won't most of the time, hold down spacebar, and I'll just keep going. You can see it's pretty easy to tell who's acting because they get that little gold border here around the cube, and the other name appears. And I'll just, before getting to everything else, I'd like to... I will just let this play out so we can talk about the shop. So the gladiators are biased towards moving to the center of the board. This is to prevent stalling, so that they'll all eventually end up in around the same place. If we didn't see it this time, that's pretty unusual. Usually one of your gladiators will die in the first round, but if they die during the round, they'll get a little deceased next to their name, and then at the start of the next round, they'll be replaced by a new gladiator. A randomly generated one. So now that that's over, everyone has another 5 upgrade points. If you have a new person who just generated because the previous one died, they'll start with 10. And we can just go through here. The 2 numbers here, it's current over a base. The base number on the right is what it's going to be set to at the start of the next battle. The number on the left here, that's what it was during the last battle. If it's above the base, then that means that it's because of skills like Inspire and Fortify that temporarily change skills. So you can still see however they were affected there. And this is visible during combat. I just remember to keep it closed. They also have their little dialogue blurbs down here. And then you have the shop, so you have gold. The price of the things you can buy here just does, to prevent hoarding, scale with how much gold you currently have. So to keep the prices down, you're going to want to not hoard gold. You can see in the case of skills, it'll tell you what they do. Otherwise, it's pretty simple. Stat boost attack. I'll buy that for all my guys. Oops. And yeah, you get 50 gold every combat, so keep an eye on that. And I can press So yeah, because spacebar is the do another thing button, just to prevent you from accidentally skipping to the next round without doing anything here, you'd have to press the start combat first, and now I press spacebar, and combat starts back up, so now we're in round 2. There are 10 rounds in total. The 10th round is the final boss, and I'm going to reach that. So it'll be a bit, because, you know, we gotta wait for the combats to play out. So let's talk about some stuff in the meantime. This video is a bit early. I figure, hey, final code's due today. Nothing's gonna change. Why not just make the video now? As far as I can tell, there's no additional submission for the final code. I guess you just check the GitHub to make sure I didn't submit anything afterwards. I'll put the GitHub in the description of the video to make that easy. Yeah. So, hold on. Pierce is really good. Okay. So I guess I'll talk about my inspiration for this game. So, Fire Emblem is at this point a fairly well-known series. But one of the things that surprises a lot of people when they go back and play the old games is how little character a lot of the characters in the older games had. And that was kind of a deliberate design decision that I find interesting. I'm not sure if I 100% agree with it, but I kind of wanted to try it out. And that is that the idea that rather than getting attached to the characters because of their personality, you should get attached to them because of their performance. You know, some characters may be good at one thing and you appreciate them for that. They might get unlucky with stat growths and so you don't like them, or lucky and so you like them. Some types of units are just inherently more fun to use than others. There are some that start really weak and get stronger fast. And yeah, I think that's interesting. So I kind of wanted to try and replicate that here, where there is a personality. They do have personality with their dialogue blurbs, but you know, I wanted to see, you know, how much could you grow to care about these characters just based on like the randomly generated stats and how they actually perform in the game. There's also I guess you could call it a game, I'm not sure if that's the right word, called Baseball, which is sort of an online baseball simulator, but it's also a horror game, and weird shit happens, like umpires incinerating the players during black holes. And this idea was sort of originally conceived as like a Discord bot inspired by that, where it'll just let people in a server spectate randomly generated gladiators doing weird things. But I didn't anticipate that I would ever actually get around to making that. So I decided, this could fit. If I change it a little bit, if I change it to like a roguelike, to something with a bit more interaction from the player, it might fit the final project. And I am pretty happy with how it turned out. Yeah, none of these are good options. And yeah, that's how this came to be. The Rome theme was just a weird idea I had. Like, I thought it would be funny. What if Emperor Augustus was immortal and made a galactic spanning empire? That would be kind of funny. Not much to it, but other than that. I mean, I kind of went with like a Vaporwave-esque thing for this skybox here that I drew. I did make the art for this. Whenever I make a project where I need character portraits, ignore the cube over there, I have a specific style I use, so I sort of, like, throughout college has sort of assembled an all-star really weird cast of moth creatures and whatever the hell this thing is. Some of them are from previous projects that have used this art style, some of them are original for this. The other art is all original. The sounds are all from freesound.org. I did not make these. I am not a sound designer. I'm not really an artist either. But I think it's fun. It's not very good, but I enjoy it. Oh, do I? Okay. Round 5. All right, we're halfway there. So I decided to put the character portraits on the pieces themselves, and the reason for that is that turns out MGUI is really picky, I guess, with how it does images. It seemed like a massive pain and just not really something I had time for. Yeah, like, it does have a texture component, but it's a bit of a process to get it to actually work. One of the things I wanted to do if I had time was a prologue. But, like, that ran into a similar issue where, like, I would have drawn some CGs, put them there, and without MGUI using MGUI for that seemed like a pain. It would probably just be more trouble than it was worth. Lost my train of thought. What was I talking about again? Oh, right, in terms of other mechanics, mostly stayed the same as I planned. One thing to note is that I was originally going to have whether or not a gladiator die depend on, like, the crowd's opinion and Emperor Augustus's opinion. I kind of just cut that because it seemed overly complicated. Like, if you lose a gladiator, you get a newly generated one that's really weak. And that seemed like punishment enough. And the sort of randomness of if they would die or not just kind of seemed superfluous. Like, I don't think the main purpose of it, like, the idea behind it is, I think, that, like, the tension of you don't know whether or not they're gonna survive if they drop to 0 hit points. But due to the, like, fast-paced nature of these battles, it really didn't feel like there was much tension. So it seemed ultimately pointless and just overcomplicating things for something that ultimately didn't really add much to the game. And also, like, it's not especially difficult right now. So, like, removing the ability for gladiator deaths to, like, punish aggressive play just kind of seemed like it would it just kind of seems like it would do, like, it would just make it even easier, which I don't really think is necessary. So that got cut. The enemies do scale as the rounds progress, but it's not too much. Most of the difficulty past the first few is saved for the final boss, which is coming up soon, and that can be a pretty brutal fight. I've seen it go both ways. It usually depends on which of the enemies in the final boss fight survive. Kind of survive the early rounds. That kind of determines how the fight will go in a lot of ways. Well, you'll see. I'll explain them when we get there. So the randomly generated names, they're from a website listing a bunch of Roman names. I put that in the code. Some of them are user submitted. That's why you've got a bunch of really, Roman names like Fortuna and Octavius, and there's just BB and Natalie there. I had a bunch of my friends just submit names because I thought it would be funny. This is the last normal round. I don't really think I have much else to talk about here. I guess I'll just look at the project proposal and see if there's anything else. I don't think so. Well, upcoming is the final round, so that's fun. I'll just... Okay, so the final battle here is against a specific set of enemies. We've got God Emperor Augustus himself here, as well as these things. They were supposed to be wolves. I don't know how to draw wolves, as it turns out, so they ended up these weird creatures instead. They have their own unique enemy-only personalities, as well as some unique enemy-only skills. Each of the wolves lowers a different stat on hit. Red is attack, blue is defense, green is accuracy, and yellow is evade. They also only have Inspire as their support skill, so they're going to be stacking up attack pretty quickly. God Emperor Augustus himself lowers all stats on hit and does a bunch of extra damage. The worst thing that can happen for the player here is the blue wolf stays alive and lowers everyone's defense. And that'll allow Augustus to pretty quickly shred through them. So let's see how this goes. Alright, Alright, that's really good for the players. Blue one, again, the blue one is like probably the most threatening, and the red one is the second most threatening, because it makes it difficult for them to deal damage. So it is looking pretty good. I think I got a few attacks off, but unless Augustus just starts one-shotting people here, I think the players definitely have this. Oh, yeah, he's dead. Yep, and there we go, victory. You get past round 10, you win. Yeah, so that's the game. You can lose. If all of the gladiators die, you will lose. I'll just see if I can get to that here by not upgrading anyone. It shouldn't take too long. Just press that, and let's see how it goes. Yep, and that's game over. Defeat. Oh well. You know, maybe we should have opened up the files. Just so I could like talk about the code. There's definitely a lot of balancing that could be done here. You saw it wasn't that difficult. I don't know if it's because it's just not difficult generally, or if stacking attack and defense is just too good. I'd have to do a lot more testing to figure that out. So if I want to make this like a fully final product, lots of balancing. Roguelikes are just kind of like that generally. But I don't think it would be that difficult. Like, all the knobs are there. I definitely want enemies to scale more, I think. In terms of actually like expanding the options, skills, and personalities and stuff, I definitely want more personalities. They're pretty easy to expand on. It's just an enum. You add the enum, and then you, for the, where's the gladiator source file? I'll just find it in the code. For the personalities, you just, the gladiator class has functions for the dialogue, so you just need to add options for that personality there. That's the original, not the clone. Down here, it just matches, like, you can see these the like stat increases don't even have the enemy only ones, because those don't matter for that. So you just have to add options, and you'd need some way to for it to actually appear, be in like probably randomly in the random generation, or like set it as an enemy round or something. Similar situation with the skills. There are functions for the skills. It's an enum. You can just add skill. Each of these is its own function, and they all work pretty much the same. So you just add another one of these, and then in the act function, this probably should have been a different file. In the act function, you just add a case for if the character in question has that as their skill. So it's pretty easy to expand on what's there. I feel like there's definitely something else I wanted to mention, but I don't remember what it is. Oh yeah, you'd probably, again with that, you'd need some way to get it. Either you set it as the enemy. Oh, that's what I wanted to talk about. Right now only the 10th round is set, but you could pretty easily change this to a switch statement and just set all the rounds individually, or just change the way they're randomly generated without too much issue. I only did it with the final boss to showcase that. Yeah, I really don't think there's anything else for me to talk about. I will quickly, I'll quickly pull up the hold on. I'll check if there's any other requirements, but I don't think there is. So, yeah, that is the project.